Welcome to Flashback, a recap of some of the stories that made headlines during the week. A federal high court in Abuja on Monday convicted and sentenced former acting Accountant General of the Federation, Chukwunyere Nwabuku, to 72 years in prison without an option of fine. Delivering judgments, Justice James Omotosho held that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission proved the 9-count money laundering charges beyond reasonable doubt. The court found him guilty on all counts and sentenced him to 8 years on each of the counts, totaling 72 years, with the term set to run concurrently. Justice Omotosho described the diversion of funds meant for security and defense as appalling and commended the EFCC for its thorough prosecution. Also on Monday, Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, approved a flat rate palliative of 10,000 naira for all state workers, including local government employees, to cushion the impact of rising economic challenges. The support, introduced as a transportation allowance, was set to run for an initial 3 months beginning in April this year. Governor Makinde made the announcement at the Youth Empowerment Agribusiness Program, also called Safer Disbursement ceremony, held at the Factional Agribusiness Industrial Hub. He acknowledged the growing economic pressure on citizens, especially following the increase in fuel prices, which had driven up transportation costs, affected productivity, and worsened the cost of living. On Tuesday, the Federal High Court in Kaduna adjourned the bail application of former Governor Nat'l El-Rufai to the 31st of the month. Mr. El-Rufai was arraigned by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission on multiple corruption charges. The anti-graft agency accused him and one Joel Aboga for offences including conversion and possession of public property, as well as money laundering.
He dominated the Federal High Court premises in Kawo, Kaduna on Tuesday morning, as armed operatives from multiple agencies sealed off roads and diverted traffic. At about 9:20 a.m., Nat'l El-Rufai arrived in a convoy under tight escort. The former governor was quickly moved into the courtroom as journalists were barred from entering to witness the proceedings. The case filed by the ICPC contains 10 counts bordering on alleged misappropriation of public funds during El-Rufai's 8-year tenure. And after 3 hours, his legal team addressed the press, revealing that the presiding judge adjourned the case to 31st March 2026.
Okay, the charges against Madam El-Rufai amount basically to allegations of deposit of money into his domiciliary account and monetization of his earnings. They finally joined Joel on 10 counts out of 10 counts. They joined him on only one. Gentlemen, what we have is that they applied to arraign, and I respectfully pointed out that since Madam El-Rufai has proceedings pending with respect to the judge himself, the judge cannot proceed. The judge, in his wisdom, decided to proceed with the arraignment.
We're just here in solidarity. Malam, to us, is the father of modern Kaduna. I'm sure you can see all the roads when you all drove here. So we're just here to support him, and we believe in the judicial process and the rule of law.
We want to also assure Nigerians and well-wishers that he is in good health.
El-Rufai later left the court premises under heavy security. A separate but related 10-count charge has also been filed against him at the Kaduna State High Court. The development comes after the former governor has been in the ICPC custody for 37 days. And this is the first time El-Rufai is formally facing these charges in open court. The case has already sparked intense public debate, with many calling it a test of the country's anti-corruption drive.
Also on Tuesday, troops of the Nigerian army working with the Civilian Joint Task Force arrested a suspected Boko Haram recruiter in Benishek, Borno State. The operation, carried out by soldiers of the 29th Brigade under Operation Hadin K, followed credible intelligence that led directly to the suspect. Security sources confirmed the arrest took place during a coordinated raid involving both military personnel and the civilian JTF operatives. The suspect was taken into custody with investigations ongoing to uncover a wider recruitment network and possible collaborators. The development highlighted a renewed push by Operation Harden K to target insurgent recruitment and radicalization networks. And then on Wednesday, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja ordered the final forfeiture of $13 million to the federal government, funds linked to Lagos socialite Aisha Achimugu and her company, Ocean Gate Engineering Oil and Gas Limited. The court held that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission proved the money was proceeds of fraud and unlawful activities. Justice Nwite also ruled that the company failed to explain the source of the funds while dismissing claims that the money was a gift. The judge noted that Aisha Achimugu didn't appear before the court to justify why the funds shouldn't be forfeited. And still on Wednesday, men of the forward operating base Igbokoda arrested 5 suspects and intercepted about 42 liters of suspected illegally refined automotive gas oil during a patrol operation in Igbokoda, Ilaje local government area of Ondo State.
The operation by personnel of Forward Operating Base FOB Igbokoda marks another breakthrough in the ongoing crackdown on illegal oil bunkering in the area. The suspects were apprehended near Awoye community in the Ilaje local government area following the interception of a vessel conveying illegally refined automotive gas oil. The commanding officer of FOB Bokoda, Captain Andy Alemogwa, explained that the operation was intelligence-driven, enabling the patrol team to track and intercept the vessel, the suspects, and the products. He attributed the success of the operation to effective collaboration between security agencies and members of the host communities.
A patrol which was engaged by Forward Operating Base Igbokoda, especially our outposts at Awoye, tracked a vessel that was alleged, suspected to be carrying petroleum products, also suspected to be AGU, along with another fiber boat. So there were 5 suspects arrested as an output of the arrest, and also products measuring about 42,000 liters.
The commanding officer also issued a stern warning to individuals involved in illegal oil activities, stressing that the Navy has strengthened its surveillance capabilities to detect and disrupt such operations.
My message to the community is to warn them to desist from such practices. Igbokoda has a very strong surveillance network, and any would-be operator who wishes to try will have the same fate of these young men who worked illegally within this time.
The Navy maintained that sustained enforcement, supported by community cooperation and economic empowerment initiatives, remains critical to curbing illegal oil operations in the region.
And we flash back now to Thursday when Justice Peter Kakemeke of the Federal Capital Territory High Court issued a bench warrant for the arrest of factional PDP National Chairman Tanimu Turaki. The order followed his failure to appear in court for arraignment on a charge of giving false information to the police, filed by the Inspector General of Police. Prosecution counsel told the court the defendant had been duly served but was absent for the proceedings where he was expected to take his plea. The judge invoked relevant provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and adjourned the case to April the 27th for arraignment. On the same day, factional PDP National Chairman Tanimu Turaki said his group was open to compromise as reconciliation efforts intensified ahead of the party's national convention. Mr. Turaki indicated a willingness to align with the Wike-backed National Caretaker Working Committee, calling for unity and peace within the party. The move appears to sideline Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde, who had maintained he wouldn't work with the committee. Governor Makinde had earlier reiterated his position during a visit to Bauchi State, where he insisted on remaining in the PDP but rejected collaboration with the Wike-backed leadership. On Friday now, Deputy Governor of Kano State, Aminu Abdul Salam, resigned from office. The Kwakwansia movement announced the decision, stating it was in the interest of the people and aimed at ensuring stability in the state. The group also says the resignation wasn't linked to allegations of misappropriation and abuse of office raised by the State House of Assembly. Mr. Abdul Salam was expected to focus on activities of the Kwankwasia movement. He had remained in the NNPP following the defection of Governor Abba Yusuf to the APC. Finally, on Friday, talks continued to unify the factions of the People's Democratic Party, this ahead of preparations for the 2027 election. The Tanimu Turaki-led National Working Committee upheld the party's decision to challenge the Court of Appeal judgment that invalidated the Ibadan Convention at the Supreme Court. At its 103rd National Executive Committee meeting, the NEC also ratified the Board of Trustees' advisory position on reconciliation. And this was the third meeting in the week focusing on key issues surrounding the planned National Convention of the Abdul Rahman Mohammed-led Caretaker Committee. The Court of Appeal had on the 9th of the month affirmed a Federal High Court's judgment restraining the PDP from holding the November 15 to 16 Ibadan Convention.